Welcome to the Mama Making Podcast, a space for moms figuring it out in real time, at home, at work, and everywhere in between. Hosted by me, Jessica Lamb, this show is here to help you feel a little less alone in the mess and magic of motherhood. Each week brings a mix of solo reflections, expert interviews, and real stories from moms leaning into themselves, whether that's into parenting, into entrepreneurship, or just surviving the day. Because there's no one way to do motherhood, and you don't have to do it alone. If that sounds like your kind of vibe, make sure to follow the show, share it with a friend, and keep showing up, exactly as you are. This episode of the Mama Making Podcast is sponsored by Collabs Creative. If you're a mom building a business and trying to do it without a roadmap, you're so not alone. That's exactly why I started Collabs Creative, to help founders like you tell your story, grow your brand, and actually connect with the people you're meant to serve. From social media strategy to full-on content creation, we do grassroots marketing that feels real, because it is. If you're ready to stop throwing things at the wall to see what sticks and start showing up like the founder you already are, head to collabscreative.com and let's start building something good. Now let's get on to the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mama Making Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, then welcome back. Today, I am so excited to have Samantha Davis on the podcast. Samantha is the founder of NuHealth Placenta Inc., a company that is helping new mothers support their postpartum recovery through placenta encapsulation and holistic wellness. She started NuHealth while becoming a mom herself, and today we are going to talk all about her story. What she's learned, how she's navigating entrepreneurship and motherhood, all the stuff. So thank you so much for being on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. So tell us a little bit more about you, who you are, where you're from, whatever you are comfortable sharing.
Sure. So again, I'm Samantha. I am based out of Southern California, born and raised. And so placenta encapsulation, it's so funny. It's so niche and people are like, what is that? What do you mean? And how did you even get into this? Right. So I'd love to, share all of the details and more about that. But I think just in a nutshell, I have been so inspired by motherhood. I have one child. She's about 8. Well, she'll be 9 here shortly, but it has been a wild ride. And she truly has, as cliche as it sounds, she's inspired me. I think a lot of our children after motherhood or after entering motherhood can become such an inspiration. And she really is mine. She is definitely a one and done. So the business has been my second baby. I've been doing this for just a little over 8 years, started the business 4 months after giving birth, and haven't looked back since.
That's so amazing. So tell me, what did you do prior to encapsulation?
So like a complete 180. I was in retail. So I was a a visual manager for Anthropologie. So I did, managed a team of the displays and the merchandising, and it was so creative. I went to design school. So that creativity has always been my passion. I love to create. My husband is the same way. He's an incredible artist. So it's just been we've had a really artistic background, and I love that aspect, creating beautiful things. But it's funny because for the longest time before, we even got pregnant, it was like, what else can I do? What else can I contribute to the world? I've been such an advocate, like an environmental advocate and, mental health and wellness and things like that. But I didn't know where to go with it. And so that's why I say, my daughter and motherhood, it was truly an inspiration. And the amount of, research and the books and the classes that I took being, first time mom, I was like, wow, there's so much information. And yet at the same time, a need for more. And so I found my niche.
That's so awesome. And I think like the creative aspect, and we'll get into a little bit, I'm sure you're able to tap into that a little bit. Obviously, like doing the Anthropologie displays, like they're iconic displays. And so everybody knows typically what they look like. And so I would think that that's a big change, but I would imagine that you have brought some creativity to this area as well.
1,000%. I don't think I could do something without it. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of operations and logistics, and it's wild the things that we've had to brainstorm for. Even like, it's funny because even social media has become my little canvas, like aesthetically, what does it look like? What does this post look like? But, even designing our trade show booths and things like that. Yeah, there's a lot of that creative aspect, even in the way that we come up with things, again, logistically, operationally, how do we approach them, comes from a very creative space because there's really no standard for what we do yet. So yeah, definitely there's been a lot of involvement and creativity with it, which is nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. For those, most of the people who are listening to this episode, I'm sure know what placenta encapsulation is. But for those who might be new to it, new moms, people who have never heard about it before, tell us, what exactly is placenta encapsulation?
Yes, absolutely. So placenta encapsulation is where we take the placenta, it's steamed, it's dehydrated, and then it's placed into a blender so that it's turns into powder, and then we fill capsules. And so what it really is, like what it dates back, the history of it. So it's a traditional Chinese medicine that's used to promote postpartum recovery and healing. And so in a sense, it's Eastern medicine. It's very holistic in the sense of approaching recovery in the body's entirety, not just focusing on one aspect of it, which I truly feel like is where postpartum should be directed towards. It's looking at the female's body as a whole. So what we do is we do a version of that. So obviously traditional Chinese medicine, being a practitioner, there's a lot that goes into it. So we do a version of it. So with a process, we use lemon, ginger, cayenne pepper as warming herbs in the sense of being able to warm the body back up with your placenta postpartum, because the idea is that your body, it becomes cold because everything, the baby, your placenta, your hormones, let's name what else isn't, comes out along with it. So you're left completely depleted and, in a sense, quote, cold. So using this process, it's the only process and method that we use. There are a variety of different methods, like some people consume it in foods, consume it raw, smoothies. There's what's called a simple method, where it's simply dehydrated. But we found over the last 8 years that this truly is something we like to hone in on and specialize, because it allows us to encapsulate safely, despite a variety of complications that can happen during birth. Because we know birth isn't the cleanest sometimes. It's messy, it's complicated. So we cover all of our bases. But placenta encapsulation, not to get too drawn out, but it's supposed to be a recovery method, a tool that's used to promote things like uterine contraction. So returning to your pre-pregnancy size, quicker weight loss, increased iron levels. You've got things like vitamin B12, vitamin B, which can help promote energy. And of course, you've got all of your hormones, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, you've got prolactin, oxytocin. So you've got things like vitamin B12, vitamin B6, you've got your range of hormones, and all of these things are what are helping your body reacclimate, because your body doesn't kind of start to come back to life in a sense for about 6 to 8 weeks. And that's a complete generalization. But if you think about when the placenta leaves the body, all of what sustained your baby's life, what, processed your hormones, took over for your endocrine system, all of that is gone. So your body needs time to reacclimate. So the idea with the capsules is you're slowly supporting your body through that transitional period. And then again, if you're looking at the actual components of it, like I mentioned, B6, oxytocin, prolactin, all of these things that are known to support things like increased breast milk and increased energy levels. You're putting yours back into your body. It's obviously nothing man-made, nothing synthetic, like taking, a run-of-the-mill iron supplement. This is iron that comes directly from your body. So there's something I feel really beautiful about that, in a sense that it's something that was created by you, that is now for you. We're just here to support the process.
Yeah. So speaking of the process, what does it look like? So say I am planning to have my baby. I've done all the research and I'm like, yes, I'm doing encapsulation. What does it look like from there?
So for us, we've made the process really simple. Everybody technology has taken over everything. We are still a very high touch company. So I think the involvement and the ability to have someone 24 hours a day at the tip of your fingertips to call, to text, in that sense, I'm really proud of the team that we have and that ability, because it's not something you're going to find a brochure on the wall at the doctor's office. So you would go ahead, you head to our website, NuHealthPlacenta.com, and there's a shop. So an online shop where you select your service. We do have a couple upgrades, which are always fun. And I can talk about those later. You select your flavor, and then you'll input your birthing details, and you're able to make your payment there. So from there, you have an online portal where you can manage all of your information. But a coordinator reaches out, we confirm your details, we send you some basic information. So you have everything at the tip of your fingertips on your phone, your email. We cover all of our bases. And then from there, you're sent a kit. So we do provide nationwide shipping, which is awesome. We can service anyone across the continental US, but we have direct pickup locations here in Southern California and the Chicagoland area, which is great. It's a really easy process. So we send you out your kit, and it has everything you need to take with you to the hospital, which is great. Literally, all you do is tell your nurse, hey, I'm keeping my placenta. So they will give you your placenta back, but it's all packed in the kit. So moms are like, do I have to touch it? Do I have to see it? No, absolutely not. It goes in your little cooler and you're good to go. And then once they give it back to you, you notify us, and we have medical couriers on staff 24 hours a day. We collect directly from you at the hospital. If not, you are provided a next day return label. So you ship everything back to us per the instructions, and you're good to go. And then from there, it usually takes about 1 to 3 business days to process. And then we'll reach back out, confirm your details, and then get you your capsules back. So it's a really easy process in terms of just a couple simple steps. But I think, again, that high touch, making sure that moms feel comfortable, because there's so many questions, or even sometimes they're like, I don't know what to ask. So that's what we're here for. And we go over all of that information, and the accessibility, I think, is what is so important about this type of business or process.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think the accessibility end of things is such a barrier for people sometimes. Like, the last thing you want to be doing after you've had a baby is like, okay, now I have to think of the logistics of this. So you're kind of like fixing that problem. So once people decide, I'm going to do encapsulation, I've sent my placenta out, they get their capsules back, what are we doing with this?
I love it. Yes. So what you do, we provide a recommended dosage card. Why I said recommended is because this is something specifically catered for you, and every person's body is going to be different. The support you need might have been different from the support I need. So we provide this recommendation, which is about 2 capsules 3 times a day. And then you slowly start to wean off each week, because like what I mentioned prior, your body, this is to support while you're acclimating, right? While you're readjusting. So it's not like a long-term years worth of capsules. It's really focused on those first couple months. So you're using this dosage to support hormonal rebalancing, milk production, jumpstart that, sustain that for those next couple weeks. And then energy, because everyone knows waking up every 2 hours is so much fun. So all of these things will help within those first few weeks. But I think something I encourage moms, and that, again, that accessibility to our team, is to find a dosage that works for you. You start the dosage and you're like, okay, like the first couple of days, I feel great. Maybe I'm going to start to taper off and lower the dosage. Or I know for me, at about 3-4 weeks, by 5 o'clock, I was done. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm good. Please, somebody help. And I would take a couple extra capsules at that time. Or, a couple capsules in the morning if you've had a really long night for that extra boost of energy. Or if your milk supply is dipping at any point, take a couple to help boost that supply. So it's really listening to your body. And the beautiful part about our community is that they are so in tune with themselves. They are really focused on making this the best postpartum recovery possible, that they're able to utilize that aspect of the dosaging.
Yeah, I love that. So what are some of the common misconceptions that come up with encapsulation? I know that it's still relatively new to the the regular world, but all of us in the kind of like the birth nerd world have known about it forever. But with that comes so much misconception. What are some of the things that you hear, questions you get that you're like, wait a second, this is wrong in your experience?
That's a really great question. And it's probably my favorite because I love a good myth buster. Because like you said, I love that. The birth nerd. Yes. The amount of people I talk to about birth are like, okay, well, it's my favorite. Okay. So probably common misconception is that it is a placebo. And why I feel like this is the biggest question or the biggest myth I like to bust is because if you're looking at the research behind it, there is very little research. If you're looking at the anecdotal research, moms talking about how different their postpartum recovery is this time around. And I'm talking like fifth, sixth pregnancy, they finally do this and they're like, wow, I can really see the difference. So comparing and contrasting, but you've got so many, again, components of the placenta, like those vitamins, like those hormones, all of which actively sustain life within your body. That's leaving very dramatically. It's in 1 minute and then it's out the other. There, in my opinion, is no way that all of that is not doing nothing, isn't doing anything. There are, so, there's facts behind what's physically inside of the placenta and how that relates to just what it does in life in general. People taking iron supplements to help combat anemia. Your placenta is full of iron. A lot of moms that start taking things like progesterone postpartum to help combat things like postpartum depression or things like that later on. You've got that in your placenta, hormonal therapy, things like that. So I think, that's probably the biggest one is look at what even they're doing with placentas in general. You've got things like the beauty industry, you've got pharmaceutical companies that are all using donated placentas. And I won't get into all of that, but they're using these placentas for actual research. And I've actually talked to a couple of the uh, I'm not sure what you would call them, but there was this one biomedical research company, and I was able to talk to someone and she's like, yeah, a lot of C-sections, the hospitals will donate them to us. So, you look at things like the amniotic sac of the placenta, which is chock full of stem cells, and all of that you're getting to replenish your body with, and it's yours. So I think that's something to consider too when people think of placebo, is there's research being done, but it's just not geared towards mom, which is hopefully something that, I hope will change in the future. But that's probably my
Yeah.
biggest myth buster.
Yeah. Yeah. I think anytime I think about placenta encapsulation, I don't know if you're a Bravo Housewives girl, but on Real
Mhm.
Housewives of Atlanta, Kim Zolciak, when she had her set of twins, had an encapsulator come and they did like a smoothie and then she had the capsules. And she was like, people think you're just like taking a bite out of your placenta the second it comes out. Like that's the thought that you have in your mind of what it might look like, but it's a pill form. It's like right behind you on your screen there. It's so much easier and cleaner and different than what I think the average person expects.
And we even have flavored capsules. So that's even more fun. You're taking a pink bubblegum capsule versus your placenta.
I
But
love
that's,
that.
that bring up a really good point too. The pill form, what it also does is it helps you create a dosage and the longevity of it. Because there are in some cases, like I said, where people will, the smoothies, they will consume it quickly after birth. Like I've heard so many different things where they take a piece and put it under the gum or under the tongue to help with postpartum hemorrhaging. Like there's a lot of things that people have used this for. Obviously, we only focus on the pill form, but I think the pill form is just what's helping you get the most out of your placenta. And then just in my opinion, in all honesty, is probably the cleanest and it's the safest way because it's being processed in a way it's reaching heated temperatures that will eliminate certain bacteria, certain viral infections, while also retaining a lot of that bioavailability. Because a lot of the times I get questions like, well, if you're essentially cooking it, aren't you getting rid of all of the hormones? Aren't you, you're making it so that the placenta isn't as valuable? But on the contrary, the way that we do it is the most gentle form. However, it is making it in a way that is safe and consumable for mom. And an analogy I like to give is raw chicken, right? If you were to say, hey, let me eat this piece of raw chicken just right out of the package, I would highly just recommend not doing that. But when you cook it and you meet certain temperatures, you're still getting the protein. You're still getting that nutrition from that piece of chicken. It's just in a cleaner, more sanitary way. So that's my take.
Yeah. No, I think that's like the perfect way to put it, like perfect visual. Hey, it's me, Jessica. If you're a neurodivergent mom or raising a neurodivergent kid, you need to check out The Unfinished Idea. Greer Jones shares what it's really like, the everyday joys, the hard moments, the meltdowns, the wins, and all the messy in between. It's honest, reliable, and feels like talking to a friend who truly gets your world. So go listen to The Unfinished Idea wherever you listen to podcasts. So we talked a little bit about some of the benefits of doing encapsulation. Can you talk a little bit more anecdotally about some of the things that you've heard people say that have been clients of yours or just in general that they benefited from?
Absolutely. So I think biggest one is going to be increased energy. I feel like that's something I hear across the bat and honestly is something that I loved. Starting a business, having a brand new baby, working full time, I was like, how am I doing this? I don't know how this is functioning. So that's probably the biggest one. And I think another one is the improved mood. So you get a lot of that hormonal replenishment, which is going to help level out those intense highs and lows where you're crying and you've got rage and you're like, why? No one's done anything. So that'll help with that. You've also got things that help with like postpartum hair loss, which is always a big one that I feel like nobody, prepares themselves for. I didn't even know about it. Or you've got things like the iron that will help fight anemia. I think another big one, uterine contraction, that's always a big one, really helping your body return back to that pre-pregnancy size. And then as far as all of the stem cells and things like that, a really great overall quicker recovery I've seen, especially in clients who have had C-sections. I mean, and there's some that I can, stand out in my mind where they're like, I went back to the doctor and the doctor was like, wow, like you're healing very well. C-section scars are healing well. So there, those are the big ones, and it's really what we strive to work towards. Like we're here to help you. Obviously, it's not everything, and it's not a magic pill, but those are some of the biggest ones.
That's amazing. So when you're answering the first part of it, you mentioned starting a business and having pretty much a newborn. What prompted you? What was like the first thing that you were like, I'm starting a business? What did the beginning look like? Tell me all the things about that first year, I guess.
Absolutely. It was wild. And when I look back, I'm like, how and why? So we just had our daughter. And of course, I did placenta encapsulation. It wasn't even, I had no questions, no thoughts. It was just, I am doing this. So a friend of mine linked me up with someone that did placenta encapsulation. It, went through the whole thing. And then 4 months after having my daughter, I was like, I'm getting ready to go back to work. What I was doing didn't feel fulfilling anymore in the sense of I was like, there's got to be something more. And all of the research and the books and the people in the classes, like I mentioned earlier, there was so much that I was still in that mode of like, I want to learn more. I want to do more. And postpartum, and I feel like this is just a common thing amongst all birth workers, is that there is so little education, classes, communication in general about postpartum. It's like, hey, you have your baby. You're in labor for what, 12, 36 hours, however long it is. That is nothing in comparison to years worth of just wild and craziness and everything mixed in between. So with that said, I felt like postpartum was a place that I wanted to contribute. Helping avoid things like postpartum depression, that was a huge one. coming from a family where, depression did run in our family, anxiety, all of these things. It was definitely a place that I felt the need to contribute to. So I told my husband, and I was on the phone with a cousin of mine. And I was like, hey guys, so I think I want to do this. And I loved it because right off the bat, they were like, yes, that fits perfectly. I feel like that's a you thing. So I did it. My husband, was fully on board, and there was a lot of support at home. And I just started, one placenta at a time. And it's grown into something that I can't even believe sometimes. And the amount of thousands of women over the course of 8 years that we've been able to support, the team that we've built. I mean, it's wild and more fulfilling than I could have imagined.
Yeah. So talk to me about, it's been 8 years, you said. Talk to me about scaling your business from just that first placenta to where you're at now.
Absolutely. So we were able to create our lab-based facility where we have everything from NSF certified lab equipment, medical grade decontaminants, food grade plastics. We've across the board, we have triple certifications. And by we, I mean myself and our encapsulation team, where it's, food handlers license, OSHA bloodborne pathogen certification, obviously, certifications in placenta preparation from a few different certification programs. So each year, and it was amazing. Every time I love this part, just thinking back, every time we'd go see our accountant, she's like, what are you guys doing? Okay, well, here, it wasn't taken seriously. And every year we'd go to her and it was like, wow, like, okay, this is working. And so with that, I think it fueled the need to eventually, so I think it was about 5 years until we finally just went all in. We finally had a team, and it started very small. It was myself, my husband, and this, wonderful woman that was doing pickups with us. We were doing all the placentas ourselves. I mean, when I say it was built from the ground up, I mean, blood, sweat, and tears went into this business. And we were finally able to come to a place where NuHealth was born, and our team was, from the coordinators, we've got dispatchers, the encapsulation team. It's wild. It's wild. But the scaling was one of the most difficult parts, especially because there was nothing to model it by. It was like, all right, well, let's try this. That didn't work. Or, putting money into something, as with all businesses, where you're like, this is a weird, we might fail. And we did. There were several points where it was like, this is my baby. How is this not working? But then we'd figure it out. And I think, again, that creativity piece that my husband and I have was pivotal in the success of what we're doing. Because without that think outside the box mentality, I wouldn't have worked. So I'm very proud of how far we've come, and the ability to be flexible and maneuver, and the wonderful people we've met along the way.
Yeah, that's so amazing. What are some of the things that you learned along the journey about balancing motherhood, family, and being a owner of a growing business?
Hardest thing I've ever done. I am a self-proclaimed workaholic. So balance was really, really hard for me. I would want to bury myself in work because I felt like it was what I was good at. I'm sure most women, most mothers, most parents feel the same way, where I didn't know what I was doing with the child. I was like, how do you do this? From breastfeeding to all of the different ins and outs of it, I completely second guessed myself every second of every day. But work, I was good at. I knew what to do, what I had to do. So balance for me took a really long time, and it took years, and it took conversations and breakdowns with my husband, who was so supportive, but was like, okay, you need to shut it off. Go, the computer's off now. By 5 o'clock, you're done. Even though it was a 24-hour business, essentially working all the time, he was able to really help me hone in on what was most important. Because for me, here I'm thinking, making money for our family, making sure our team is employed, making sure that our customers are being serviced appropriately and having the best experience possible. That felt like my contribution. But my meat and potatoes, my sole purpose was my family. That's who needed my time. That's who needed my attention. And so I would say, just maybe, I want to say like maybe 3 years ago, I finally clicked and it was like, all right, I think we got this. But I couldn't have done it without the right people. And I think that's why I keep coming back to our team. And we've gone through people. It's not like, we've had the same people for 8 years, but without the people part, I wouldn't have been able to do it all because I can't do all these pickups. I can't do the encapsulation. I can't run the business. I can't dispatch. I can't do it all myself. So that was, aside from partnership and support, was the most important piece. Yet it's funny because at the same time, the people part, I feel like is one of the hardest parts about running a business.
Yeah,
So
for
it's like
sure.
it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, and I think it takes so much trial and error to figure out like what does balance even look like for me? What is my end
Uh-huh.
goal? Who are my right people to have in place? So I think that everyone who goes into entrepreneurship is like, "Oh, here we are. What did I do? Let's figure this out." And it's so interesting taking kind of more of a deep dive into the entrepreneurship side of motherhood, and that like for most of us moms, the reason that we've decided to jump into whatever endeavor this is to contribute to our family, obviously, but then also like pour into ourselves and things that fill us and make us feel like we're a whole person. We're not just a mom. And I think that it all is just this like cycle of I want to feel good. I want to do something productive that serves your family as well. And then just navigating like the day to day and what does that look like is so interesting to me to see how everybody's doing it. What is even balance and kind of coming to that realization of like, I've been doing this for my family. How can I get to a place where I'm able to have what feels like balance to me? It's so interesting to see so many moms going through the jump of like, okay, I'm done with my 9 to 5 or whatever it is and starting a new venture and then going through that rough journey of what does this all look like for me?
Exactly, and the I think something that I like to, I don't know what's the word, like, just put out there, that I
Mhm.
wish more people had have talked to me about, mentors and things, was you're going to feel like you want to give up. You're going to feel like you're failing. I mean, that's inevitable because, like you said, you're trying to navigate how this is even all possible. But if you truly believe in what you're doing, pushing through that it's pivotal. You have to do it. Like it's a part of the process, but it feels so isolating at the same time because you sit there and you're in your head and you're second guessing everything, like we all do with motherhood. Am I doing a good job? Is this working? The same thing happens with business. And if you're able to push through those because they'll happen more than once, you find this sense of for me, you find this sense of worth and this sense of value. And I'm able to do hard things that value, yes, others that contribute to your family, contribute to others, but also to yourself, where you're like, holy moly, I can do hard things. It's very empowering.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I was thinking as you were talking. It's just so empowering to come up against something hard in business and then also there's such a parallel between motherhood and business that you're like constantly starting over, constantly feeling like you're failing, but like there's so many small points where you're like, "Oh my god, I'm doing it." And so I think that it's so interesting to have that parallel between the two.
Absolutely.
So what are some of your, like, biggest wins in your season?
In my season, biggest wins, being able to do this for 8 years, I've been looking back at, wow, like the last time that I was employed, it was a while ago, and that we have been able to do this because, I'm not going to lie, besides my husband and like I mentioned, that one family member, it was very much like, okay, well, that's cute. Like, I'm happy for you. Good for you. But to be able to have both my husband and I doing this full time, to be able to have people that we employ, I mean, and when I talk about that, honestly, that's also a really big one for me is to be, to have employed. We had one husband and wife. We had a single mom. We've had a couple single moms as well. We've had these people that we've been their sole source of income. And that felt amazing because, everyone says that, oh, they become like family and this and that. But the interconnectedness of our team, especially because of what we do and the hours of what we do it in. I'm talking to someone at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, this mom's in labor, blah, blah, blah. I think that has been a huge win, is to be able to have not only provided with my family, built a business with my partner, my husband, having it have been inspired by our daughter. All of these different pieces were such a beautiful part of this last chapter, and I think it's growing and it's evolving into, so many different things, but that's something I am so, so proud of.
That's so amazing. I feel like you're right in the middle of like seeing it all come together, seeing it all come to fruition, and really being able to enjoy the space that you're in.
1,000% being able to finally enjoy it. I don't have breakdowns regularly. I'm not panicking. We have to change it all, redo the website. We need to, like I used to, where I was like, okay, well, that happened. We're now revising and, rewriting our entire business plan. That doesn't happen anymore. So, yes. And everyone's very happy about it too.
I'm sure. Yeah, I can definitely identify with all of those things. So, what are some pieces of advice that you might give other moms and women wanting to start something, whether it's a business or a project or some kind of venture while they're raising little ones?
Let's see. I think it would be to start. And it sounds, like, okay, well, how and why, and there's so many different factors to it. But I think if there's one thing I've learned, is that you will sit and question yourself till, the ends of the earth. But sometimes, maybe not in all cases, it takes just starting. Whether it's, there's so many different things, but it's just starting, just putting yourself out there, even if it's not perfect, even if you haven't ironed out all of the details. Starting is what's going to, I think, motivate you to build something bigger. It's what encourages you, especially if there's not a lot of support around you. Because again, sometimes, people are like, okay, we'll focus on one thing, and it can feel overwhelming. And people want to, make sure you're good too. But I think, just try things, start things. There's times where I'll go off on a tangent and I'm like, okay, do I want to do this? Maybe. Do I want to do that? And it's like, okay, no. Or, yeah, I'll start it. We'll try it. And maybe it doesn't work out. But that's probably the biggest piece of advice that I could give. And that, as well as making sure that you're in a place to mentally handle setbacks, feedback, and also enjoying the wins, because sometimes we're not able to enjoy them. And you have to be in a space where you can receive that, you can receive the positivity, because it'll make the other things better. But if you can't do that for yourself, the other will just continue to overwhelm you. So, two big pieces.
Yeah, no, I think I love that advice of making sure you're in the right headspace to do it. I'm all for getting out there and doing it, but if you're not in the place mentally where you're like, I can handle a setback or two, I can deal with like you said, the feedback I'm going to get, whether solicited or unsolicited.
Yeah.
I think being like in tune with yourself, in tune with like, this is just part of the process and it's only going to help me grow. I feel like if you're not in that headspace, it's just going to be like, I'm constantly failing over and over. You're definitely going to feel a little bit of that. But if you're in a space where like, this is only going to help me, this is part of it, I feel like you're setting yourself up for way more success that way.
1,000%. The feedback, man, that is tough, especially if you're doing
Yeah.
like a client, where you've got clients or things like that, especially in the birth field. Obviously, women are also very hormonal. We're going through an entire body transformation. Like, that's also a very tough space. You have to be fully prepared for all of it. And I'm not great with feedback. That was very difficult. It's like, what do you mean it's not perfect? I'm sorry. But yes, definitely a good place.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I would love to do a lightning round of questions. This will just be a really quick question and answer. Let's get going if you're ready. So, what is one thing that you wish every new mom knew about postpartum recovery?
I think the key is support from your partner, if you have one, from family members, and from professionals if you're able to as well, whether it's mental health, lactation. If you're able to have some type of postpartum doula, there's a lot of support out there. So it's important to educate yourself on what's available to you.
Yes, we don't have to do it alone. And there's so many people out there willing to lend a hand if you're in a space where you don't have a tight community. There are so many birth workers or support people out there who are like willing and ready and able to help. That's a good one. What is your favorite ritual or self-care practice in your own healing journey?
My hair. It sounds very superficial, but my hair is my thing. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like it's something for me. Um, yeah, it makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, you've got good hair, so I can
Appreciate it.
understand that. What is one word that describes motherhood for you right now?
Can I think of a word? Balance. Balance in that I finally figured out how to manage all the things, whether they're all perfect yet, no, but managing partnership, family life, daughter, and business. I feel like we're going in the right direction.
Love it. Last one, finish a sentence. Starting a business as a new mom was.
Crazy. Crazy because it's crazy for me implies wild and unpredictable and passionate, all of those things where you really don't know what to expect or how the outcome will be, and you go for it anyway.
I love that. Yeah, that's perfect. It's all wrapped up into one. Anything else you'd like to share on encapsulation, on building a business, being a mom, any of the stuff we chatted about?
I think again back to like that postpartum era and the creativity that can come from, in a sense, one version of you ending and a new version being born. Motherhood is completely transformative. And if you feel called to take that energy, that creativity, and pour it into something that might just be for you, it might not turn into anything wild. It might, who knows? But for right now, in that moment, turn it into something that's just for you. Postpartum is all about everything else and figuring out so much externally. Find something that's for you. And then in terms of placenta encapsulation and us and what we do, I definitely, as a side note, love to offer moms, if you do choose to encapsulate your placenta, learning and hearing all about the incredibleness of what it is. We'd love to offer you a free gift. So we didn't talk too much about it. You'll see on the website momentums and keepsakes from this journey you have: birth, labor, delivery, pregnancy. We want to honor that. We want to cherish that. So we do provide umbilical cord keepsakes. They're in a NuHealth shadow box. So we want to do a free gift with any of your listeners that do sign up. Just head to our website and use MMP25. And then just, as a side note with these keepsakes and that little bit and piece of it is, I love to tell moms, we keep the weirdest things. We keep everything. I still have the little stump from when it fell off after a couple of weeks, the umbilical cord stump. I have teeth, which she doesn't know about yet. She'll find the big bag of teeth soon, and hair. So we save everything. I'm sure there's weirder things too. But this makes a really beautiful way to honor that moment, that chapter of your life. So other than that, I feel like that's it.
Tell everyone where they can find you, website, social media, all the places.
Sure. So if you head to our website, www.nuhealthplacenta.com, you'll find tons of information. Obviously, you can create your order, place that order there. Then you can also check us out on social media, NuHealth_placenta encapsulation. That's my baby, our Instagram, which has tons of information, not only on placenta encapsulation, but sharing the space of motherhood and the ins and outs, particularly of birth. But those would be the two big ones. We have a TikTok. Couldn't tell you what it's called, but we do have one.
Awesome.
So yeah, those would be the big ones.
Great. And we'll put all of that stuff in the show notes in addition to the code for your keepsake. Thank you so much for being on. This was so amazing.
Thank you so much. I really enjoy your podcast and am truly honored to be part of it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That's it for today's episode of the Mama Making Podcast. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with a friend, leave a review, or follow us on social media. We love hearing what's landing for you. And most importantly, keep making your way through. You're never in this alone. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.